Our next question comes from Scott Burnside. Your line is open.
Thank you. Dean, can you describe what your message was to the players and maybe what you're hoping that John can do, at least in the interim, to try and coax some more offense out of your lineup?
You have to know I already had a message to the players.
And just, well, I assume you must have addressed them. You were in Boston with them.
Well, I mean, it's simple. I mean, it sounds cliche, but it's true. Ultimately, the message is that they're accountable, and unfortunately, that the coach has to pay the price. But make no mistake that they're the ones who are accountable for this.
In terms of John, maybe being able to coax more offense out of this lineup, have you had a chance even to talk to John about it and how he moves forward?
Not in much detail. Obviously, these things. The most important thing before talking to you was try and do the best I could to handle it professionally with Murph. Yeah. Secondly, deal with the players, and we'll talk to Johnny later today and tomorrow.
Thank you, Dean.
And the next question comes from Helene Elliott. Your line is open.
Dean, I'm sorry, I missed your response to the first question about the length of John Stevens' tenure. And also, can you tell me if you've reached out to any other candidates to replace Gary?
Well, it's basically pretty generic. There's no timeline on John, but we are looking at all our options as far as, so those are the two facts right now. So.
Yeah, what was the final straw, or was there one final straw that led you to decide this was the right timing for this, or this had to be done now?
Well, it just it doesn't hit you like a ton of bricks. I think it's something that kind of builds up as we hadn't been playing up to the expectations of this team, and so, and I think the last homestand is kind of like the end of it, but you're constantly evaluating everything, whether it's players or how they're responding. So I don't think you can say it's like one glaring moment. It just kind of builds up.
Thank you.
And the next question comes from Bob Miller. Your line is open.
Dean, when did you make up your mind, and when did you notify Terry? Was it after practice today?
I think it's probably safe to say that we reached the premise where we had to make this decision yesterday, and I flew out early this morning and went right to Murph's room, so I guess it was around 4 o'clock.
Thank you.
And our next question comes from Eric Duhacek. Your line is open.
Dean, I was just wondering, seeing a lot of your games lately, does this have something to do with the fact that some of your young players, like the Dowdies and such, just are underperforming this year? And do you think that was a coaching thing and that they need to hear a different voice to kind of get their games back on track?
Well, obviously, that's, you're thinking that's part of the solution, but in the end, it still comes down to the player getting his focus and being the best he can be. And with young players today, this is it's a challenge, and but I don't think it's just the young players. I think it's been right across the board. So I'm not just pinning some of the performance of the younger players and going to the next level. They have their own, they are trying to reach their potential, and there's always stumbling blocks, along the road to reaching their utmost. But then you have players with a specific MO who have, had a certain level of success in this league that, I know players, as established themselves, are going to have ups and downs and things, but, they should be in the neighborhood of where they have done in the past. I don't have too many guys, or I don't think we have any guys that are, we consider old or on the downside. So it's collective. You just highlighted the young players, but I think the young player presents a different challenge for the coach today. In terms of getting them, it's so difficult to with all the things they have to get to where they need to be, and it's a process. And I've been through this before. I saw it with the Marlows and the Stewarts and the Bacchus and things, but it's collectively across the board here. And so I'm not. You can't just say it's the young players. The Stolls, the Williamses, the Greens, all these guys, the Browns, certainly have to look at themselves as much as the younger players.
The other question I had for you, Dean, was St. Louis was in a similar situation about a month ago, made a change, brought in an established guy. The season just completely turned around for them. Do you think that with the group that you have there, that such a turnaround is possible in Los Angeles?
I think it's possible, but in the end, it comes down to the players. So, I don't think you're going to do this unless you think you're going to get some improvement. But sometimes it has an impact, like in that case, and there's different degrees. But I think every situation is different, though. In terms of the impact of the new coach. In terms of the fit at that point of the franchise. So I think just to look, I think there's in every franchise too. Don't forget has different levels of expectations, and this team, came in with very high level expectations, and that puts a different perspective on your room, and particularly you got young players meeting that. So it's unique here in a sense that you have the youngest core of the league, and you're counting on these young players. But again, it's the veterans have to, or the established players also have to step up here. But to answer your question, I think every situation is unique. But I think why else in any sport would you make this type of change unless you're hoping for improvement?
Okay, thanks, Dean.
Our next question comes from Lisa Dillman. Your line is open.
Yeah, Dean, in some of our conversations over the years, you've spoken very highly of Daryl Sutter. Is he somebody you think about reaching out to and attempt to persuade him to leave Alberta to come down to LA?
Well, like I said, there's no timeline. We're looking at all our options. So right now, I think that's as far as I can comment.
Okay.
The next question comes from Pierre LeBrun. Your line is open.
I was going to ask you about Daryl, Dean, but how do you go about this? Do you have a short list in mind, or do you have one specific individual you think that you're going to zero in on?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say when you're in this situation, it's a very short list. I don't think we have the, and I think the other thing is you pretty much, because you're with your team right in the middle of the fray, I think you have a decent idea of what you think might do what Eric was saying, kind of get a jump start. So the list is pretty short.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks, Steve.
And our next question comes from J.P. Hoomstra. Your line is open.
Hey, Dean. Reflecting also on a couple other recent coaching changes, both in Anaheim and in Washington, the coaches there said they tried everything. They maybe strayed from their original approach, and nothing worked. Talk about Terry's approach this season. Was it what you had seen from him in the past, and did he try everything?
Well, I can say one thing for sure. If anybody, this was one of the hardest working coaches that I ever been exposed to in terms of his commitment to the game and always, searching for ways to get better. So, and the other thing too is as much as, even last year, we had some, sketchy periods there, as we certainly have had this year. But, again, this year the expectations are even higher, so it gets dicier. He never quit, you can, and that's not his nature. He never one iota ever, certainly like every coach, he gets frustrated, but his work ethic and his focus never changed. And, right up to having to meet with him today, it was one of these are never pleasant, but this was particularly hard given the man this is and knowing how hard he tried. And, even seeing him today, I had to, talk to him while he was at work, and that's just Murphy. So, like I said, in terms of him trying everything within this time frame, and you know what, he wouldn't have stopped trying. So.
Could you maybe elaborate on what his reaction was when you told him?
It wasn't easy for both of us. I think, I have such respect for him as a man. If this was just a business relationship, I guess it's, we always use the, cliches, it's business and all that. Well, this was more than business. This goes beyond that, and it's always difficult, even if you're using just a business approach. But there's a very good man in here, and nobody likes to be the bearer of this type of news.
Thanks, Dean.
Our next question comes from John Rosen. Your line is open.
Hi, thank you. Terry recently, in several chats, said that he liked the way the team was playing. He liked the effort. He liked the compete level. Were you sharing those same opinions?
Yeah, he's in the line of fire there, and you never see exactly what your coach sees, but for the most part, I think it's safe to say though that with the expectations this year, it becomes more result orientated. And I guess again, this goes back to Eric's question. Every situation is different, and the challenge for a coach as well as the players, when you have expectations, it's driven more towards results. So it's harder at times to look for those, victories within losses. And that's just the state of the franchise right now. You can look for more of those things, I guess, 3 years ago, but we're trying to push to that next level, and it isn't easy. It's a lot easier playing with the house's money, and so I think to answer your question, you're never going to see things exactly, but I do think we're at the stage of the franchise where you're going to be judged on wins and losses and playoff rounds. And that's what you always strive to be for. It's a lot easier when there's no expectations, and like I said, every win you can get a parade, but we're not there right now. So again, it comes down to wins and losses.
Kathy, it's Jeff Moeller. Do we have any more questions at this time?
All right, Mom.
Scott Burnside, your line is open.
Oh, I didn't hear. I haven't heard quite a bit of this, actually. So, anyway, Dean, I missed part of your response to Pierre's question about your short list and your focus. Can you just clarify where John fits into that? Are you committed to going outside the group, or is it possible that John could end up being your head coach?
Like I said, I got to be pretty generic here. I know, you don't like the political arguments or statements, but right now it's looking at our options and there's no timeline. So.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Okay. All right, Mo.
Okay, and our next.
Oh, go ahead.
Our next question comes from. Oh, that's it. That's all we have. Please.
All righty. Thanks, Paul.
All right, thanks, Dean. Thanks, everyone, for joining us here on short notice.